Hi everybody, this is a concept map of my future classroom. So in the middle we have this stating that it's Miss Merchant's classroom website. So I'm just going to run through what I would like my classroom website to look like in the future. So first, in the top right hand corner, we have classroom welcome letter. So this will allow parents to view the welcome letter at the beginning of the year, and I will keep that posted all year. The welcome letter will include any yearly expectations I have for students and parents, what the general plan is for the year, and if there's any important information that needs to be given out at the beginning of the year, that will be in that letter. Next, my contact information will be linked to my website, so that will give my phone number, my email address, and the Seesaw application information. So for my classroom, for my future classroom, I would like to use the Seesaw app as communication between parents and teachers. I think it's a great app that allows parents to monitor their child's progress on a daily basis, and it gives teachers a chance to show parents what the child is doing. Like, for example, it could be anything from academics to even like a craft or a project that the class is working on that day, and it gives parents an opportunity to comment, which I think is pretty great. Next on my website will be expectations listed for the school year. I think it's crucial that students, especially at a young age, I'm hoping to teach maybe third or fourth grade, but either way, anywhere in the elementary school, children are at an impressionable age, so they all need to be given expectations, and students don't know those expectations unless they're given routines, rules, and procedures. So starting with procedures, it's really just important that students are aware of what's going to be expected of them, what's going to occur on a daily basis, specifically procedures, more specifically, coming into the classroom, the first thing they're going to do in the morning is their morning work. So students need to be aware of that, and responding how they're going to do their morning work and where they're going to do it and where they're going to hand it in. As far as rules go, they need to know what is expected of them and while they're in the classroom, as far as my classroom, and if when they go to specials or they're in another teacher's classroom, they need to be aware of what is expected of them. And lastly, with the routines, it's definitely very important that students have routines to follow. They need to know like what is coming up further in the day, what's happening currently, what's going to happen next period, what special do they have. All of that is important, especially at a young age. They need to know what is coming. They can't just be thrown into something. I feel like that impacts a lot of students' behaviors, especially if they're not sure what's coming next. And then the next tab on my website will be PBIS, Positive Behavioral Instruction and Support. So this tab on my website, I will just go into some detail about how students need to be held accountable for their behaviors. Even though they're young, they can't expect to do whatever they want and get away with it. There needs to be again, expectations. Students need to know that if they do something wrong, they're going to be held accountable for it. They're going to, there's going to be consequences. And then going off of that, teaching positive behaviors. It's important that we are teaching students positive behaviors, and this needs to happen in the classroom and at home. I've seen in my previous experience, teachers put in work 5 days a week with these students, getting them to act and show like the right behaviors. Then they go home where there's no structure in the home, and all that progress that was made, it just completely goes out the window. And then the student comes in on Monday and they're back to square one with the teacher, and they have to work on that all over again. So one of my PBIS ideas that I have, that I saw this, and I really liked this idea. It's a classroom kindness jar. So what this consists of is there's like an empty jar at the front of the classroom, and inside of it are you can put pom-poms in it every time somebody does an act of kindness. So if you compliment somebody or you help somebody, if they drop something and you help them pick it up, if they have a question on the assignment and a student reaches out and is trying to help, they can put a pom-pom in that classroom jar. And depending on, I have weekly reward written, which is what I would be hoping for. Students could get some sort of reward every week or be working towards something every week. Typically, I would imagine that jar, I don't know, it may or may not get filled within a week, but if it does, students can decide as a class what they want as a reward, whether it's they want to have a movie day Friday afternoon where they can pick a movie to watch that might be going along with a book that we're reading in class, something where it can still relate to our curriculum. So I think that's a good way to introduce PBIS into the classroom. So over on to the left-hand side of my mind map is the curriculum. So this part of my website, I would have a link to the Common Core standards that New York State requires. I really like the Common Core app. I think it simplifies it as much as it can be simplified, and I think a lot of parents could benefit from that. So I would definitely have that information on my website. As far as the curriculum, I would also have upcoming lessons, and then a spot for student goals. So if a student comes up, I would, my plan is to somehow talk to the students on, I don't know, weekly or bi-weekly basis, just to discuss like, hey, what's your goal this week? What do you want to accomplish? And if it's okay with the student, if it's nothing too personal, like have a spot on my webpage where I can put up the students' goals, even if it's anonymous, just so parents can see like students are working towards this and they want to improve on this technique or this technique. And I think that's a good form of transparency between the students and the parents and the teachers. Also on my website, I would have a calendar, specifically classroom calendar with anything upcoming in the classroom, and then also a school calendar because there are more events that go on outside of the classroom. I'm going to skip the special education tab because off of the calendar, I want to go to PTA. The PTA tab that I have, I would link the upcoming events that PTA is planning. Typically, classrooms have a parent representative. For the PTA, I would have that parent's information as long as it's okay with them to give out their information. And then any class photos that students were in for previous PTA events. And then going back to special education, I think this is important to incorporate on my classroom website because there needs to be a spot where parents can speak out if they have concerns. I know a lot of times parents don't want to mention the concerns that they have with with their child, and it's really nothing to be ashamed of. I think a lot of parents are ashamed to have a student in special ed, but it's truthfully benefiting them and they're getting the help, the extra help that they need. So there needs to be like a forum where parents can express their concerns with teachers, and I would have that link to my website, whether they just want to send me an email or have a meeting with me. And then also, if there's any requests that a parent has for their child, so if a child's not diagnosed with autism yet, but the parent is seeing some sensory issues and some sensory concerns, maybe the parent's requesting that the student keeps a pair of headphones on his desk, or his or her desk, or has a squeezy toy on his desk just to help with those sensory issues. That's something that parents can definitely talk to me about as well. And really, I just want to help parents and teachers and students as much as I can. And I think it's a lot of teamwork that needs to be put into it. And the more everybody works together, I think the more that everyone can achieve.